Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Abian Morina. This is Andi Ahmeti. This is our first time having a joint presentation, and we're so excited to present in B-Sides Tirana. So today we're going to talk about cloud warfare. We're going to focus in Scattered Spider, which is a threat actor group. And the way that we picked our title, Grappling with Scattered Spider, is because there's a tool that Andi Ahmeti will present, which is Cloud Grappler, and we thought of this title. So before we start talking and diving into the Scattered Spider, first let's have a look at the agenda to show what we're going to be talking today. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the introduction. We're going to talk about who we are, what we bring in expertise, what we do for work, and then after we set the stage for our expertise, we're going to stop at understanding Lucre 3, who they are, what they do, and why we call them Lucre 3. Then we'll dive into modern cloud attacks. We're going to talk about how an attack typically unfolds. Then we're going to stop more into the IaaS layer. We're going to talk about AWS TTPs. Then Andi will cover cloud logs for defenders and hunting with Cloud Grappler. And then we'll wrap the session by summarizing everything that we have talked. Okay, so first up, introduction. I'm Abian Morina, as I said. I come from a small city in Kosovo called Jakova. I started cybersecurity at a young age, initially through hacking video games, and then it became a legitimate career path when I started studying. Initially, I finished my bachelor studies last year in computer science and engineering, specializing in information security and assurance. I've been in Permiso for over a year now, where we've been doing detection, threat hunting, and presenting, which is the best part, which we're new at this. So,
okay, hello everyone. My name is Andi Ahmeti, and apart from Abian, I come from a bigger and better city, which is called Pristina, from Kosovo. I've obtained a bachelor degree in computer engineering in University of Pristina. I started my security career in Permiso as an intern, then proceeded as a full-time employer, and now it has been over a year, and it was a great experience. During this time, apart from doing great research hunting for threat actors, I've also developed two open source tools. One is called Cloud Grappler, which we're going to talk about it today, and the other is Cloud Console Cartographer. I'm a co-author with my manager, Daniel Bohannon. Yeah, over back to you, Abi.
okay, thanks, Mick. So in our current role, we focus on investigating malicious activity, researching new detection techniques, and developing tools to strengthen cloud security. We work closely with our PO Labs team, which are over there, to detect and respond to sophisticated threat acts, ensuring that our cloud infrastructure of our clients remains secure. Permiso acts as a vigilant defender in cloud, protecting both human and non-human identities. And we leverage machine learning techniques, and we have over 1,000 detection rules, and we try to trigger only high-fidelity alerts, which are from threat actor groups, such as Lucre 3. Okay, so let's dive into the fun part and understanding Lucre 3. So, Lucre 3. Every organization tends to have their own naming convention. Lucre 3, it's ours. So Lucre presents our threat actor groups, and 3 means it's the third one graduated in that cluster. You might know them better as Scattered Spider, a group, a name which is more known in cloud security community. But there are also other names that you might have heard them, such as Octopus or Roasted Octopus. Mandian refers as them as Ankh 3944. Microsoft initially called them Storm 0875 before transitioning into the name Octotempest, but you might have heard them as other names as well. Okay, so what is their mission? Mission-wise, Lucre 3 is all about financial gain. Their journey started with small Roblox gift card schemes. That was where they got their first feet wet. From there, they transitioned into crypto mining phase, but they didn't stop at that. They quickly moved into extortion. And when I'm talking about extortion, I'm talking about millions of dollars in extortion requests. And what's particularly notable about Lucra 3 is their persistence. Just 3 months after they were in, they often strike back. And if you paid that extortion fee, they're gonna assume that you're gonna pay it again. But if you didn't, they're gonna hurt you more this time, so that you pay, you probably pay to increase the pressure. Victimology initially targeted telecoms, leveraging SIM swapping tactics to gain control of phone numbers. This was their bread and butter early on. After telecoms, they shifted into big software firms, focusing stealing code signing certs and source code, which allowed them to demand a high extortion fee. They worked for this for a while until it became less profitable. As opportunities in software dried up, they expanded into other industries such as gaming and healthcare, focusing on each sector for a few months and then moving on to the next. However, recently, their persistent and their targeting has become less predictable because they're hitting multiple targets at the same time. Okay, so consistent themes. First of all, we need to know that they do their homework. They check who they're targeting. They know who to target. They usually try to target, to check for targeted personas. They usually go for 3 persons. Usually it's identity admins, because these are the folks managing Azure AD, Okta, and basically controlling everything. If they can compromise these accounts, they've hit the jackpot. Second, if their goal isn't stealing code signing certs, but rather disrupting services such as in gaming industries, they go after sysadmins, because these are the folks keeping everything running, and hurting them can cause a lot of damage. And 3, there is us, security folks. And let's be honest, we often whitelist our activity, and we don't have a look at what we do, and we don't pay attention to our own activity. Lucra 3 loves this. They want us to know that they've been in our environment, but they only want to know when they're ready to extort us and hit up with their mission. They use a lot of GUI tooling. I'll talk about S3 browser later on. What sets this group aside is also because they're willing up to pick up a phone. If they run into a troubleshooting, they, instead of going into troubleshooting themselves, they hip up the phone and call a help desk to help them out and go through that. And often, help desk also helps them a little even more than it should. Very little malware used in the cloud and SaaS environments. There's little to none malware used. When they do engage in Prim, it's often classic and well-known techniques. They're opportunistic about the tooling that they use. They don't care if you're using Notion or Confluence. They'll use any tooling that you have against you. And finally, they like to watch and learn about how you're enriching data and how you do stuff to make their attack more effective. Okay, let's move on to modern cloud attacks. So let's have a high-level overview of how modern cloud attack typically unfolds. When people talk about cloud attacks today, they often focus only on IDP side or Azure side, AWS side, but that's just one part of the picture. The reality is that everything is interconnected, starting from the IDP. Initial access often begins with IDP, and once they're in, the attackers focus in on learning about your environment. They'll move into your SaaS portals, running queries just like a regular user would. What makes these attackers so effective is that they blend in. They look just like a normal admin doing their job. They use SaaS to gather information about what they need to carry out their mission. When they're targeting your IS layer for credential harvesting or data theft, or diving into your CI/CD pipeline to perform source code or code signing certs. By the time they're executing their mission, they're already gathered everything that they need to make the attack. So for the IDP side, they're doing their research. As I said, they pick a persona, they pick a person where they know where they live at, so they can emulate that access pattern. So much so, in very specific engagements, the attacker was coming from the same exact ASN as the victim user normally comes from. And with access patterns being so familiar, it's so hard from the IR stance to tell the good from the bad. Adding to that, they're using residential proxies to get close enough to avoid triggering geolocation or feasibility rules. This means they can log in from locations that look familiar as a legitimate user would normally access from, which complicates the detection. When it comes to credentials, they'll do whatever it takes to get them. They bribe their way into creds. They also coerce to get those creds. And once they get the creds, getting past the MFA can be as simple as a SIM swap or a push fatigue. Often, after they log in, they know how hard it was to get there, so often they downgrade the MFA, they switch to SMS, and also they add a new email for the password reset in case they need to. Okay, so for the hunts, things that we should be looking for are how many people have more than one phone. We can see like a few people that have more than one phone, but it shouldn't be too many. How many people switch platforms? So we've only seen these guys use Android devices, always use iPhone devices, never Android. So checking out for switching platforms from Android to iPhone can be an indicator, and going so on. How often people downgrade phones. So if we see someone going from an iPhone 15 to an iPhone 11, that's a bit unusual. No one downgrades phone, right? So these such abnormal patterns can be should be looking for when we're not dealing with straightforward malware. Just small things that stands from the normal behavior. They'll also pick up the phone and just say, for example, can you push a button for me? Also, how many people share phones? So these guys, when they're attacking, they only have a few phones around them. They're not using eSIM, so they're using physical devices. And one indicator can be multiple identities having the same phone. So we should look for that DT hash or phone ID into multiple users. And downgrade factor, as I said, downgrading the MFA to SMS. Okay. So the challenging into detecting these threats lies in the fact that there is no malware involved. Attackers use the same API and function as legitimate users, making it hard to distinguish between normal and malicious activities. Once they gain initial access through your IDP, their next move is to quickly learn as much as they can about your environment. Often starting by exploring knowledge-sharing resources such as wikis or Confluence. These search terms can reveal the intent of the attackers. For instance, Scatter Spider has been seen with specific search terms across multiple identities. I don't know if you guys can see this properly, but we can see there like AKIA, for example, which means they're for AWS credentials, clearly indicating that they're hunting for access keys. And when they're searched for example, for something like show an API key or Twilio API key, as I highlighted over there, it's not the actual API key that they're looking for. It's more about how you're enriching data, and they want the script that references to that key. Another crucial detection opportunity is monitoring user behavior patterns. For example, for a user that has never logged into GitHub and getting information from it, that new activity, that user behavior, is something that should stand out. It might be an attacker trying to steal that code signing certs. For defense evasion in 365s, attackers often cover their tracks by setting up automated email deletion rules. They use less common filters like body contains, to target specific terms in body of an email, ensuring any communication that could expose them is automatically deleted. So, yep. Now let's move more into IS side, where we're going to cover the AWS TTPs. So let's talk about S3 Browser for a bit. I mentioned this in the first slides. S3 Browser is a GUI tooling based tool to perform AWS usage. It's easy to use as it's GUI. So particularly concerning is when S3 Browser is used for IAM functions. So S3 Browser can be used from both legitimate users and attackers. So if it's used for IAM functions such as creating a user, updating login profiles, or altering permissions, these tasks are usually performed and managed through more secure and auditable channels, such like AWS CLI or the management console. If these sensitive actions are being carried out through S3 Browser, it's a strong indication that something unusual or potentially malicious is happening. Attackers frequently use SSM to run scripts, such as software inventory gatherers on all EC2 instances. Rather than running these scripts just once, they set up a scheduled execute for every 30 minutes to maintain persistent presence and continuously gathering data. They target, attackers focus on AWS Secrets Manager. They use Cloud Shell, a method that is rarely seen in legitimate operations, to extract these secrets. By looping through secrets with the get secret value command, they can pull all the information they need. Cloud Shell, so Cloud Shell interacting with Secrets Manager is a major red flag. Also, file downloads via Cloud Shell. Attackers upload and download files using Cloud Shell. They replace instance profiles to grant EC2 instances over permissively roles, often using a simple ** policy. Instead of creating new user or access keys, they quietly just add login profiles to existing accounts, set passwords, and take over those identities. Disabling guard duty is typically one of their first moves. While many security teams have rules to detect this, it's often more interesting when attackers delete guard duty invitation and dissociate from the masters, making it challenging to re-enable guard duty, but it's often creates more noise than it's worth. Fun fact, stop logging. Attackers believe that will stop all the logging, but in reality, it just prevents the logs from being sent to destination. Logs are still created, meaning that if you monitor the API, you can still capture these events. Also, check out for EC2 instance anomalies. They frequently create large, expensive EC2 instances, and they install Windows in them, which is unusual and should stand out in monitoring. Okay, Andi, I got a bit tired. You want to talk?
Thank you, Abian. So, my friend over here gave us a really nice, clear overview and good insights of how these attackers do their actions. We know the tactics, we know the pattern of their attacks, what they prefer, what type of service do they go after more. But now the other challenge is actually how to find the presence of these threat actors in your environment. And I guess every security person, of course, who is in the defender side, has a challenge in front of him. So let's go down. I know this may be ABC for some of you guys, but I think it's nice to go from scratch. What is the role of logs? Now, what is a log? A log is a fact that what someone did, who or when. I did it twice. Yeah. So which might lead up to an incident, but not necessarily at all times. And logs are visibility. We know who did what, when, and where. The next thing is, in order for you to know all these three things that I mentioned, I don't want to repeat myself again, is to have them available. Now, some services enable logging by default. Some of them don't. You always have to check it out, because if an attacker comes by, they won't do that for you, or they might, but that's just they're trying to make fun of you. So yeah, after making them available, the next smart thing to do is store them to a secondary location. And why? Is because, and I'm going to talk later on slides, some cloud service providers offer a retention limit on how many days do they store your logs. So you always want to have them stored in a different location, like you have cheap options like a S3 bucket or a blob storage in Azure. Yeah, after storing them, you want to process them further, aggregate, correlate, whatever. And at the end of the day, the most important part, or the most important role of logs, is to see if we can find some malicious activity on it. So basically, we love logs, and they shine our path towards finding the truth. And the truth sometimes can be harsh, but it's better to know. Yeah. So since we are talking about only cloud, I'm going to focus on cloud logs, and we're not going to talk how good cloud is. They just removed our server machines. Yeah, that's great. Now we're going to stop more about the cloud logs part and the cons of them. Now, first of all, they're determined by the cloud provider, so you get what they serve. You don't have much saying in it, so you have to make up your mind and see what they are giving to you. There's a delay in log generation, and that's happens because of many factors like internet speed. The retention limit that I mentioned, some like AWS offers a 90 days retention limit, Azure I guess 30 days. So yeah, let's again store them to a secondary location. And at the end, they are far more abstract. Now, I don't have much experience at all in on-prem logs or endpoint detection, but we have some pretty good veterans that are experienced in this part, and we get a lot from them. So basically, you have some event names or APIs that are being called. Let's say create user or create access key. Is that malicious? Not necessary, but you are the one that you should give context to it and do some baselining on that user to see if it's really malicious. So we view logs in AWS through event history. You have the option to get them through the CloudTrail API. Now, again, there's API throttling, so you have to take that in count. Also, cloud logs in Azure, you can view them through the activity log. Cool. Now, sorry. Yep. I'm not going to stop here. Abian said the most of it, but our team, we've seen an increased large activity from these threat actors in cloud environments, and as I said, finding the presence of these threat actors in our environment has posed a significant challenge, not just for us, but for all security teams. And even though we offered lots of briefings and blogs on how to help detect these guys, we wanted to take it to a step further and actually release an open source tool which does only one thing, and that's grappling evil in the cloud. And yeah, we have here Cloud Grappler, which is open source in GitHub. We released it since March 2024 this year, and yeah, we tend to keep it updated with our latest TTPs. So you might want to check it time after time. What does Cloud Grappler do? Cloud Grappler has some key features. The first one is threat actor querying. So we have all the TTPs that Abian just mentioned, the most important ones, or all of them, yes. So we have around 60 TTPs, and they are, we tend to keep it, as I said, updated. So the next thing is this tool also specializes in single event detection. So for now, we have only AWS and Azure, which Cloud Grappler supports. And an example here we have in AWS, the get file download URLs, which, as Abian mentioned, it's not commonly used, especially if it's tied together with secret managers. So yeah. And the other one is new inbox rule, for example, where the attackers are trying to just clear their tracks after doing so. And the last one, but not least, is integration with CloudGrab. So just as a reminder, CloudGrab and Cloud Grappler are different tools. CloudGrab is maintained by Cadio Security, and we want to give a huge shout out to Chris Doman for his support. Now, what does CloudGrab do is essentially grabs for cloud storage. It has, you can search by your regex, and what our tool is doing is just wrapping this tool, CloudGrab, with our TTPs and is Cloud Grappler. So, yeah. But how Cloud Grappler works, how do you configure it? We tend to keep it simple, so you don't need much experience in cloud, at least just basic knowledge. The first one is the scope selector. So you have, till now we only support AWS and Azure, so here you are in the data source.json file, you are just defining the scope of your scanning in your environment. You will have to define the bucket name and the prefix. You can also choose to not define your prefix, like you want to scan the entire bucket, and that's okay, but my recommendation is that if you are storing a huge amount of data in that bucket, like let's say terabytes or near that, it would be better to add the prefix also, because it would take time for the tool to complete the scan, and also, just as a reminder, this tool also creates ingress charges while you are trying to get the data from the S3 bucket. And also, on the other hand, we have Azure, where you'll have to specify the account name and the container. But just so you know, you can add as many buckets you want to scan, and also the same applies for the Azure part. And yeah. The other thing is you have the query selector or the query.json file. Again, we have, these queries are predefined by us, but you are free to add more. You just need to follow the pattern of the other queries and just make sure to get the right query field, and also the source, which can be AWS, Azure, but if you're really interested if certain ASN, IP, user agent, user, whatever you think is a indicator of compromise, and you want to scan it in both of your environments, you can just add the star sign on this source field, and that would scan for that specific query in both of your environments. And the next one is we thought that someone who's doing threat hunting or just defensive purposes, something, you have the report generator. What this does is just outputs the findings in a JSON format. So as you can see, the folder is structured in the type of the CSP, like either AWS or Azure, the time of the when the tool was started running, the location, and at the end which query was triggered. I don't know if we have time for a quick demo, but I have something over here. Good. Cum apelă un video, nu? Haide, nu? Right. Okay. I don't know how well you can see it. It's a little, the quality is bad, but yeah. What I'm doing here is just adding the scope of the scanning. Like I'm adding the bucket, the prefix we want to scan. And the next thing that we want to do is just hop over on the terminal and hit -- help function to see what feature this tool is offering. So Yeah, you can add a file of your own desire, like you don't want to use RTTPs, that's fine. I wouldn't recommend so, but yeah. Let's go and just hit the, call the main.py function file, and the next thing is what is going to happen after I hit enter is that the tool is going to check if there's been... Abian, read.
I'm not sure we can zoom in more.
I'll attach the video demo on the slide so you can check it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. My bad. So the tool is checking for if there's been any updates on the repository, again TTPs, and it's going to ask you if you want to clone the latest updates. Yep. And after the ASCII art, we're just displaying that we're checking for hits in this specific bucket, in a specific prefix, and for these queries, because there are some other queries that are only Azure related, and we can see we found one hit for the famous get file download URLs. And as you can see, the star sign and secrets, it tells you that it also supports regex, so you can be creative on your regex over here. And yeah, we're checking for hits in the other bucket, and we didn't find any. Just gonna skip this. Yeah, the next thing is that we're adding the permiso intel flag, and also you can filter out by date. Like, let's say you don't want to scan your entire bucket for the last 2 years. You can do that just for like 2 days, a week, which one you prefer. That depends on you. Yep, so this is doing the same thing, and you can see that there are some intel that we are displaying, like which query is running for which source, like AWS or Azure, which threat actor is tied to, what's the severity, so you kind of know, like, is it high, is it low, like, do I need to check this, and a short description of what this query might do to you if an attacker is misusing it. And the next thing, I guess, is just doing a tree to the reports folder, just so we can see that this works. And yeah, it outputted, it said, like, yeah, you have the AWS, the tool when the scanning was done, the bucket, the prefix, and at the end you have the JSON format. And just so you know, the JSON format is same as a AWS log or Azure log. Like, it's not appending some different thing, but yeah, just you have that specific object on the logs. Thank you.
PowerPoint. That's ejection. Okay. Thank you for waiting. Also, you can also reach us out after the presentation to, Andi can give a full demo of the tool live. So let's summarize and get back to identity. So their mission is focused to cloud. So they want to get into your cloud, SaaS and CI/CD environments to get access. They usually get that access through impersonation. Once they can impersonate legitimate users, they can move around the organizations with ease, often going unnoticed for extended periods. So how do they do this? First off is password spraying, a technique which is well known, where attackers try a small set of common passwords across many accounts. This sometimes is effective. They also go in easy way, just purchase credentials without trying to break their heads into creds. They just buy them and they have access to your account. They also use push fatigue, which is a technique where they flood the users with messages and try to confuse them and make them get frustrated to push that button. And also SIM swapping, which is by taking control of their user's phone number, and the attacker can intercept all SMS messages and bypass those MFA codes. We can see here also some blogs that we wrote about impersonation, and you can see it really well, but it's how an attack chain really goes on.
Yep. Another summary for me. So threat actors continue to target cloud environments for various purposes. Always make sure to configure the necessary cloud logging options for retention, as I said, forwarding, querying. And at the end, if you want, use Cloud Grappler, an open source tool, detection framework to find potential presence of bad guys in your environment. And with that, we want to thank you for your time. I hope our talk was good for you and you find it helpful. And if you want... Yeah. If you want to reach out to us, you have our LinkedIn and Twitter, or also we are here, and if you want to ask a question.
Do you guys have any questions?
Thanks. I hung it up, yeah.
Thank you, guys. It was a very nice presentation. I really like the tools. It caught my attention in one configuration file of the CloudWatch logs that you were using CloudTrail logs in one region and the S3 bucket was in another region. And I was wondering why that decision.
On the configuration file, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to be honest, that bucket didn't exist. It was just for demo purposes. But yeah, nice catch.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Any other questions?
Thanks for the presentation. Just a quick question. So, if you are a very big organization and you have a lot of logs across all sorts of cloud providers, I'm assuming that the logs are going to be very, very big. So imagine you have a large bucket of 1 terabyte of logs. How fast is this project going to be able to go through that? Is there any parallel processing in there, or how does it work?
Yeah, great question. My simple and honest answer is don't use it. It's more intended for individuals or small companies because they generally produce less data. But if you tend to have terabytes of data that are coming for a day, I think there are, as you know, lots of CMs or other enterprise tools that are very good at that. But yeah, if let's say you're looking for a specific hour, let's say the start and time, that tool would be fine. But if you give it 1 terabyte of data, yeah, I never tried that.
Thank you. Second question, if I may. Okay, very quickly. Are you able to pass a third-party or external indicators of compromise file? So it doesn't use only the data set provided by Ahmeti by default, but I'd have my own custom one, and then I'd be able to attach to the script and just be able to parse through the logs.
For now, since we are pretty much dependent on CloudGrab, so we use CloudGrab as a sub-process, and we know that CloudGrab for now offers only AWS logs, GCP, and also Azure. But as I said, Chris is an awesome guy, so if you want to parse other, like you said, other logs, you are more welcome to add the PR to that, so that would be great. And let me know, and I would integrate it into Cloud Grappler too.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for the questions. If you have any other questions, you can catch up with Andi and Abian